Welcome to this new video from the ASA Art 3D website. This time, we will see together the specificities of the UV project modifier in Blender. This modifier moves a UV map texture of one object based on the position, size, and orientation of another object. It thus makes it possible to project an image onto an object as a projector would. The principle of using the UV project modifier is quite simple. You just need to define an object as a projector, define an object as a screen, create a material containing the image to be projected and add the modifier. Let's take a look at some examples first. The UV project modifier is used to move a texture on an example object as if it were an image projected by a projector. In this example, 3 UV project modifiers project a blue, red, and green circle against a surface. The projectors are then moved in the different axes and their scale is adjusted during the animation. The UV project modifier is suitable for animating a texture on a specific and finished surface such as a display screen, for example. Note that it is possible to obtain the same result by linking a mapping node to the texture of the shader and by varying the location. However, the UV project modifier offers more freedom than the mapping node. The UV project modifier can be used to rotate the texture of a disk on its axis. Note that it is possible to achieve the same result by simply rotating the disk object on its axis. The UV project modifier allows you to move a texture comprising different images on the surface of the object. In this example, each walking position has been placed in the center of the surface in turn. It is this example that we will reproduce in this tutorial. Alright, now I suggest you study the modifier parameters before creating a modifier walk cycle together. This field allows you to specify the UV map on which the effect should be applied. This field does not need to be completed if you want to use the default UV map. In this example, you can see one way to use different UV maps. In the Modify menu, you can see 3 modifiers with each time their own UV map. In the shader editor, you can see 3 textures linked to 3 UV maps. Each modifier will read the sequence of nodes starting from the UV map assigned to it. These fields allow you to adjust the UV map on the X and Y axis. These fields only work if the projector is a camera. This is an example of changing the appearance and scale of the texture projected by the camera. This field determines the number of objects used as a projector. The number of spotlights is limited to a maximum of 10. You can see in these 2 examples the difference in result when using 1 or 2 cameras. You can use any type of object to represent a spotlight. Apart from the camera object, the setting of objects is managed in the properties of the object and not in the aspect and scale fields of the modifier. Alright, now I suggest you study the modifier parameters before creating a modifier walk cycle together. It's time to move on to a practical example, don't you think? I now propose to create a walking cycle together. To do this, we need a texture, a background image, a plane, an empty and the UV project modifier. Now we are going to add a material to our plane. I'm going to use an emission shader because I didn't light our scene. Now let's add the UV project modifier and adjust the size of the texture with the empty. We are now going to animate the empty to simulate the walk cycle by setting keyframes every 5 frames. Finally, we'll make the settings for the animation to loop and step. Thanks you for watching this video. Feel free to check my site for more tutorials and tips on Blender.